Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today's video we're going to be talking about why the light weapon actually takes more skill than the heavy weapon. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe. We're really close to 400 subscribers, which will be a lot of fun. And yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so I was teaching this new guy parries, and I remember insisting that he use a heavy weapon. Now that I look back on it, I can recall why. Many of the game's core mechanics, like not being parried, damage, range, and 1v1s, they actually take less skill to learn on a heavy weapon than on a light weapon. For parrying in general, both the heavy weapon and the light weapon actually take the same amount of skill. It's all about timing, and yeah, not much difference there. However, it really changes when you're going to be talking about not being parried. But to get into this, I need to talk about how a light weapon works in a 1v1. In a light weapon 1v1, in a 1v1 for light weapon, you don't have enough range to do your normal heavy weapon 1v1, which is all about just hitting, practically all about hitting and rolling away. And you also don't have enough damage to trade a blow and then roll away. So this is putting you pretty far on the back foot already. The light weapon relies, however, on the parry button, which is kind of ironic considering that it's also its greatest weakness. To actually do damage, the light weapon needs an enemy to stand still without the ability to roll away, and then of course its DPS can really shine through. You can do this with either a parry or a bait. My point is that a light weapon must always wait for the heavy weapon to do the first move. To adapt to this technique, rather than having the option for both with a heavy weapon, waiting or striking first, needs more skill to master. Now I'm not really sure I need to explain why it's easier to be parried as a light weapon, but I'm going to anyway. You swing faster, so the chance for a perfect block is way higher. Yeah, so that's pretty much that. So what you rely on is Parry Prediction. This is Combat Warrior's hardest mechanic, and it only gets harder as players get better. I don't have too much expertise in the subject, but I can tell you that it's simply learning when an opponent parries, and it gets, you've got to predict when they're going to parry and you don't get parried. And it gets harder as you try to predict, and then they're going to predict when you're predicting. And it gets pretty complicated, and you learn it through experience. The longer you play the game, the better you get at it. Since you get parried better as a light weapon, you rely on Parry Prediction, and this is a really steep learning curve, especially if you're new to the game. And as a heavy weapon, you don't even need to rely on this till late game or at all. So this takes more skill to master early on. Now you're probably thinking, since the light weapon is so hard to learn early on, it must be a really great class in top tier. No. Sadly, I have yet to see a Katana versus DS in a 1v1. And there's a pretty good reason for that. The DS is better and easier to use. Coming back to why I asked that dude to use a heavy weapon instead of a light weapon, it's because even if he could learn the skills to become a great light weapon user, he could still be beaten by a semi-skilled DS. Of course, this is a stereotype or generalization. There are a small few light weapon users that have learnt the Parry Prediction almost perfectly, and they're really hard to fight. Alright, in conclusion though, the light weapon needs so much skill to use, it actually becomes, to use it well in top tier, it actually becomes pretty impractical, and unless it's in the hands of a master. It's a very good early game, but later on where you can just spam, and many people haven't learned the parry button, but once people learn the parry button, you start to encounter some difficulty. Using a light weapon early game and then grinding up, eventually it gets really hard, and that can be really demoralizing. But however, I have seen someone grind to the top tier for light weapon and then switch to heavy. This made them much more skilled and much harder to fight, since they had mastered the mechanics of the light weapon that heavy weapons don't even need to learn until late game or at all. I would probably not recommend this. I think you should be free to enjoy the nice and easy climb with the heavy weapon, and then once you have the DS you should switch, and that way the steep learning curve, you're a little bit more accustomed to it. What I'm saying overall is that the light weapon needs more skill to master because of its disadvantages in 1v1s, and hard mechanics that you need to master early on. Alright guys, that's it for today. Subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Bye.